how busy are you guys with? Let me ask it this way: to what degree of your day-to-day or career, let's say, is streaming, and what degree is competing?
I mean, Robin has like kind of taken a step away from like what's it called, hardcore raiding, if that makes sense. So he's a little bit less than me. I think Robin nowadays is just mainly focusing on his stream, but like competing in let's say the race towards first, as you call it, like which is whenever there's a new raid coming out on retail, we're competing to like we make a big event around it, as we're attempting to kill the bosses as the first team in the world, right? And the amount of things you have to do to be on that level is kind of crazy, right? Because the way it works is that, so a new grade comes out and you have several difficulties of the raid. So you have looking for raid, which is the very casual thing that everyone can be a part of, and that's like you can queue that in. Then you have normal, you have heroic, and you have mythic, right? So there's a lot of difficulties in the raid. And mythic is where the race is at, which is the hardest difficulty. And in order to complete mythic first, you need to first get gear from normal and heroic in order to even be able to like kill the bosses. Otherwise, you just don't have enough gear for it. And the way you optimize that is where the degen stuff comes into play. So imagine a world where you have a roster of 30 players. There's only 20 in the raid, by the way, when you're raiding. And every single one of those 30 players have 16 characters. And all of those 16 characters, I'm gonna get to that, are the same class. So imagine you have 16 mages. That you also
now
need.
Why I didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah. The reason for this is that as you're doing what's called split raids, is that you're doing heroic raids several times, while you have certain people getting assigned loot in that specific raid. Yeah. Now we have a loot. We have crazy systems and spreadsheets and whatnot that like optimizes and allocates who gets the loot in that raid based off what drops in the raid. And the reason why you have so many of the same characters is because, let's say you do the raid 16 times, you have a way higher chance of getting good loot on one of those 16 characters because you're rolling 16 times. And then the character that gets the best loot out of those 16, that is now your main character. That is the character you're gonna go into Mythic with.
No, but hold up. You're in a guild together. Is it spread out? Is it a lottery among the guild?
A list, not like that's why the more characters you have, the less of a lottery it becomes, I guess you can say.
But
that's why
can't you just unionize and set rules that everyone can only have one character? That way you can only enter with one lottery ticket, and then nobody has to out-degen each other.
That would work for the guild only, but how are you gonna
control randoms?
Trust your opponents, the other guilds, that they are gonna follow the rules,
Oh, you're lotterying with them as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You have to discuss. So like the biggest competitors right now, so like is Liquid, right? I guess you know Team Liquid from other esports.
Sure.
We're competing against those, and then there's another organization called Method. That's another European team as well. That's like the top 3, and the top 3 by quite a lot. And then after that, a few Asian guilds are being like number 4 and 5. And yes, it will be possible to come together and talk to all of those top guilds and see if we can come to an agreement to reduce the amount of characters that we want to spend. Now, that being said, the amount of characters that we're preparing outside of the race, which is right now, by the way, I'm going to be raiding tomorrow and Tuesday evening. We're also doing a lot of raids on those characters, because we need loot from the previous raids in order to go into the next raid that comes out at the beginning of next year. So we need to already start that gearing process already. Now, as we're doing these, what we call it, farm raids, which is where you are raiding outside of, the race, we also get people in that buys a boost for in-game gold. And this is, cost a lot. Because
the WoW token?
Just like WoW gold, right? And they can buy WoW tokens, or they can buy it on a third-party website. We don't control where they get their gold from, right? Like, we're doing nothing wrong. you know, they're just spending gold in game, which is allowed.
Yeah.
Now, this gold is very important for the race as well, because as an example, we spent 650 million gold in the last year. That was on consumables. It was on BUEs. BUEs are like bind and equip items that you can put on the auction house that are quite valuable gear.
Did we spend 650 million?
650 million. And then we're also paying people from the community to help us. Because I said we were doing a lot of raids. That's true. Now the thing is, we have 30 players in the main roster, around that mark. But that doesn't mean that we are only doing one raid at a time. We're doing what's called maybe dual core raids, where you run 3 or 4 raids at the same time.
What?
And then you get the community to fill up the remaining slots where you don't have players. And these players are like scouted by, you know, applications where, you know, we have system that and spreadsheets that runs, that analyzes those players, and then the best of those people that sign up will then get selected to help in the splits, and they get paid gold for being a part of this because they're joining to help, and they're getting gold for that because they're obviously giving up all of their loot by being a part of this, since all of the loot goes to the guild.
Oh, so if they win loot, it funnels to the actual competing players of your guild.
Well, first of all, they get a weak hour, which is a requirement for them to even be able to join. And then you have someone that raid leads each raid that has a tracker on their screen that sees if every single one of the helpers have the weak hour active, and it scans that every 10 seconds. And this weak hour auto passes on all loot immediately.
I see. So you're not leaving it to chance and goodwill.
No.
I just wanted to jump in fast for the people. You probably have a lot of people don't know WoW, but so 650 million gold that we spent. If you buy it like the legit way through Blizzard, I think it's the equivalent to 40,000 euro or dollars.
Wait, repeat. 40,000 what?
Yeah, so 650 million gold. If you buy it the legit way through WoW tokens in the Blizzard store.
Yeah.
I think the equivalent is $40,000.
But that's every single player involved, right? That's not just your guild.
No, that's what our guild spent the last race.
Shit.
And you do like 2 races every year, I guess.
Now, time is money. The time spent, if you express that in money, would be pretty high too. Because you have to grind like mad, right?
Of course, the guild is not buying this gold, right? We are like, they are now not a part of it anymore. They're, you know, getting this gold by boosting off-season and stuff, right? But if you just
wait, hold on. I heard something interesting. You're boosting people?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I need to be here, but Gingi can probably explain what's
Is boosting
right
allowed?
Now, we're allowed to boost for in-game gold. You're not allowed to boost for real-life money. Like right now, when we're doing the farm raids, as we're gearing up all of our characters and whatnot, we're also inviting people that have purchased the boost, so they're getting like a full mythic clear. And killing like a full mythic raid is also very difficult, right? Like it's a very few amount of people that can actually kill the end bosses on retail. That's why like classic is a little bit different, because I think a lot of different skill levels can still be a part of like the classic game. But in order to kill like the hardest bosses on retail, you need to be in a very good guild. And you need a lot of weak hours, you need good raid leading, you need like... It's a completely different game. That's also why in retail there's a lot of different difficulties. So like you can still play the raids at lower difficulties if you're not as good at the game. So some people, that's also why retail is off-putting for a lot of players that don't have time, because they feel like in order to play the game, they need to keep up with changes every single season, read guides, have weak hours, and play the best classes, and like really sweat the game out in order to be able to enjoy, let's say, the end game content. And for those players, I think they're more interested in playing classic.
It's so interesting. Every question I ask, I get a long answer that raises 2 new questions for every answer. I'm so confused. I really appreciate you explaining this. It's super interesting because I don't get it, right? Like, and I couldn't closely get it. If I asked chat, I would never get it. It can't be that detailed. God, I have so many questions. All right, what do the people that get scouted and come help your guild get out of it? You said they get in-game gold, but they have to give up their loot.
Yeah, they get gold. Now,
What about satisfaction, orbiting the stars of the WoW world? That part of it?
yeah, I mean, of course, a lot of the people are joining the guilds that they really like, and many times they're also good players that are also raiding on their main character, right? Like with their guild. That they join on an alt instead to help out, that they otherwise wouldn't raid on. Now, what they get out of it is they get something called Ahead of the Curve achievement, which is killing the end boss on heroic difficulty in the first week. This is something that people
They basically
are looking
don't get
for.
shit, by the way.
But that's like post-stamp collection, correct? Like achievement hunting.
Well, not just that. This allows for them to get invited in the future when they're joining raids.
To what?
When they're joining a heroic raid, the leader will always ask for this achievement in order to get invited. So it's like a stamp of approval to get an invite.
But wait, how did they get invited first time if they didn't have it initially?
Because it's the first week, no one has it in the first week, right?
Right, but you're doing the raid again after the first week.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it like every week on a Wednesday. There's what's called a reset, and then all the bosses that you killed are now available again.
So the people can only join in week 2+ if they necessarily participated in week 1 and won.
No, they can play the raid. It's just that if they're trying to find a group that is doing it, the group leader will, you're using add-ons like Raid.io and stuff, that will scan people's what's called M+ score, which is how much rating they have in dungeons, and also how many bosses they have killed in the raid already. And they will use this information to determine if the player that is signing up in the group finder to join the raid is good or not.
I don't 100% get it. They are allowed to join if they don't have the brutal
Okay,
achievement the first time.
I can try and explain a bit. So basically, when you clear the raid, when you complete the raid, let's call it, you get an achievement. It's like a paper, like you have completed this raid type of thing, right? And in WoW, if you're gonna play with random people, like we do here, we go to a dungeon. In retail, for example, let's say we reach max level and we're gonna do Molten Core. In retail, for example, no one will invite you to Molten Core unless you have this paper that proves that you have completed this raid before, because they want something that proves that you know how to play the game, I guess you can say. So when they join Echo, in this case, for example, the first week to help gear the Echo players, they get this achievement because they do clear the entire raid, even though they're not maybe doing, they don't need to carry the raid or whatever. They're just there to help trade gear.
Well, let me try to ask simple question and get simple answer. First week they joined, they don't need the achievement because they couldn't have it.
Exactly, but then they're also playing with Echo, with the Echo Raiders in this case, and I don't really care about achievement as much as random,
The second week they join, they need the achievement if they want to join Echo.
No. I mean, we are doing splits again in the week 2, and then we're inviting people as well. Maybe the people that was there from previous weeks, or like new players, right? That's a little bit RNG. This achievement is mainly for people that are solo players that are queuing up in the group finder with what's called a puck group, right? So it's a group of random players getting together, and in that specific situation, it's nice to have this achievement. Whereas if you're just playing in a guild, which is obviously recommended, and I think the most fun way to play WoW is to be around people and being in a guild with people that you enjoy playing with. And then obviously there's like no requirements other than the requirements that the guild is putting, right? So you're playing with friends.
Yeah, you want to play together.
Yeah, exactly. So this is only in the PUG world. The PUG world is a dangerous place where it's a little bit harder to get invites.
Yeah, it sounds gatekeepery. Like you get your chance to win a raid with one of the popular guilds, and that gets you an achievement. And then that becomes a business card to getting invited in PUGs, because that generally solidifies your ability to complete the raid. But for anyone that doesn't get invited because they didn't make the cut, they're gonna like miss out on that kind of privilege in PUGs.
Yeah, I mean, then they can continue to try and find a group, but if they don't have those achievements, it's gonna take longer for them to find a group.
Right.
And in many cases, if they get invited to a group, that means that that leader had pretty low requirements for the invites in general, and then that raid will most likely not kill all of the harder bosses.
Oh my god. Do you think Blizzard balances the level of it well, of these things? Because what if they get it wrong and it's easy for everybody, even the less skillful tier 2, tier 3?
For example, there's like... So in Classic now we're playing, there's only one difficult reach raid, right? It's just the raid. But in Retail you have Looking for Raid, which is like the easiest difficulty, I guess, for beginners. Then you have Normal, then you have Heroic, and then you have Mythic. And like no one, you cannot just join, like we talked about, a random group for Mythic, the hardest difficulty, and clear the raid. You need to have a guild for this. But Heroic, you could... Maybe the first week, when you don't have as good gear, is very hard as well.
Yeah.
But Heroic, you can definitely join, you know, a non-guild group and clear. But never the highest difficulty.
You know, what this reminds me the most of is those mobile phone games that I've played sometimes. I try not to play them anymore because they're like automated combat. But isn't it a bit like Raid Shadow Legends? Like where you do like the initial quest, and then you get higher level and higher level, more gear, you do it higher level, except there's actually skill expression because you're playing it yourself. But like the fact that you keep doing like harder bosses together, it's a bit like that, no? I lost you. Never mind.
I didn't get that. Can you repeat it?
No, it's fine. Just skip.
Okay, I was trying to grasp what you said. I didn't understand.
No, it's all good.
No, but like it's mainly for the POG world, I think, more than anything. Maybe it sounded like pretty complicated, but I think once you get into it, I do think that there's a lot of like systems in WoW that could be a little bit more simple. Like if I was gonna explain to you the profession system and the upgrade system to gear in current Retail WoW.
Is it more complicated than Classic?
Yes, a lot more.
I think you would be very like surprised.
On a scale of WoW Classic to Path of Exile 1, with WoW Classic being 1 and Path of Exile Talent Tree being like a 10.
I don't know anything about Path of Exile.
Gotcha.
It's a complete... I mean, it's very hard to compare, I guess.
Chat says it's a 6 or 8, so it's pretty complex.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, I would maybe say 6, 7, I guess. Yeah, on that scale.
Where...
The thing is, I haven't played enough Path of Exile 1 to know exactly how... I've just heard that it's extremely complex, so it's hard to...
Sure. Question, where does the... There's two components to this. There's financial reward and there's emotional reward. You're playing this obviously because you're getting something out of it. Is the ramping challenges, the rush of being first, and then I would imagine are two of the emotional components?
Yeah, I mean, being the first one to kill the bosses is like, and the race as well is like really amazing, right? Like, the race towards first is actually, if you haven't seen it, it's actually one of the most like watched events as well. Like,
very good time for Twitch and YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's really fun to play in it, and we get together as well and create like an event around it, right? Like we meet up. This tier, for example, we were like partnering up with SK Gaming in Cologne, and we were using their venue to create everything around like an event around it. And so it's nice to meet all of your teammates like that you play with online every day, like, and host an event. So that's like part of it as well.
Yeah, who's sponsoring it?
And then going into a new raid for the first time that just came out, so new content, and figuring out the bosses and figuring out the strategies and how to deal with them. And then I think that is like a really, really fun part of it.
How complicated are the mechanics to figure out?
Yeah, I mean, that's where like I think Retail WoW is like very different from Classic. It's very complicated mechanics, right? Like, and that's where Wegaras, which comes into play, where you are coding something that gives information to your raid team, and then based off that assigns different people to do different things throughout the raid fight. while at the same time you have to optimize your DPS because the DPS checks are tight, and at the same time you have something called reminders that assigns people's personal cooldowns and healing raid CDs as well. So you have things that mitigate damage that you can use. You have something called externals, which is something that gives damage reduction or immunities to a specific player.
Like iceberg.
And then you have raid CDs, which is a raid-wide defensive cooldown. And then you have personals, which is your own personal cooldowns, right? And all of those are assigned to mitigate damage on certain, let's say, boss mechanics in order to not die, right? So like
So
you
you study the mechanics as you learn them, and then you start planning out second by second who uses which ability to mitigate certain effects. Is that right?
Well, yeah, but you have something called PTR testing ahead of time, where you can test the bosses. Blizzard uses this to make sure that the bosses are tuned.
Is this
well
private,
enough.
or can you stream it?
You can stream it. Obviously, we're keeping it off stream, like the PTR testing, because to not give any information away to the competitors, right?
Sure.
We're streaming the event, but not like all of the prep. And then based off this, you create the WeGars that tracks debuffs and buffs from the new raid, right? So you know, okay, you currently have this speed debuff on you. You should probably do something about it. Or you got this mechanic on you. Now you have to do X, Y, Z in order to deal with this mechanic, right? Like so, all of these things are prepped beforehand, and then you have. Not just that, you have a 21st man, which is a guy that is shot calling from the outside, not playing the game. Because when you have to play the game yourself, you have to focus about your own gameplay. And a 21st man can do way better shot calling than someone in the raid, because it would affect his, awareness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And outside of the 21st man, you have analysts on the outside. And you have people doing splits that we talked about, which is assigning the groups, getting the helpers in, and controlling all of that, especially when you're running a lot of raids at the same time.
Yep.
So the outside team is like really massive. And so you have people doing WeGars and thus coding. You have people looking at optimizations and strategies. And then you have people min-maxing the splits and optimizing giving loot to the correct players.
This is crazy.
And you also have someone like filling up the guild bank with consumables and sniping bind and equip items from different realms and then transferring them over to the guild. So like there's a lot of things going on the outside as well.
Your support team is immeasurably bigger. It is, of course, mostly online, right? Outside of the event you're having with SK at a venue where you're meeting your teammates. But most of it is online with a lot of different people. The support team you have around you, it makes me retroactively envious for the times where I was playing tournaments in 2003, 4, 5, 6. It was all alone, right? Mm-hmm. I also needed...
That's the same for us, though, in the tournaments. This is only raiding, right?
Yeah,
which is massive, but we compete mainly, I mean, not mainly, but also in 5-man tournaments.
Yeah.
And then we don't have a single person on the outside. Really, it's just the 5 of us.
Okay.
We did have mirrors on the outside.
Yeah, we've had one person, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I prefer like M+ over raiding, because raiding for me has become so like.
It's such an affair.
I don't know,
right?
like it's such a big like. There's so much like work that you need to put in, outside of just I don't mind putting in work for like the strategies and like the gameplay while playing the game, right? But just having like Mike talked about, like having 16 characters ready before you even know what you're gonna play, and then doing everything in between is just, for me, it has become too much, because every time you lose, you try and find new ways to win, and you just keep on increasing how much time you put in, every time, pretty much.
Well, it was worth it for you until it wasn't, right? Because
exactly,
you wanted to be a top guild. You have to put in exceptional effort based on the amount of other people that want to do the same thing first. And the rewards are considerable, because it's a huge Twitch and YouTube event. I was vaguely aware of that, but Gingi, you just confirmed that as well. You could kickstart careers on that, right? If you're that exceptional and you can win those events, you're gonna start your Twitch career off of that, YouTube career. Other people want that, so you have to gatekeep that with this exceptional effort and preparation.
Yeah, I would like to add though, this is very few teams that are like on like this level, right, and are putting this much effort in.
Yeah. Which is why you're top
player,
2.
Yeah, I mean, for the average player, you know, you just play
Yeah.
like 1 or 2 characters. Blizzard has also done a lot to make things a bit more user-friendly. They have this new system called warbands, which means that reputation gains and stuff like that, and a lot of things are now account-wide instead of character-specific. So they're making a lot of things more user-friendly. Some people love that. Other people feel like that is like part of what makes Classic WoW good, that it ruins some of that MMO experience.
I do have to defend Classic though. That Classic, I love the MMO vibes I'm getting from when I'm playing Classic compared to retail. They sort of lost something along the way.
Yeah.
I love retail and a lot of aspects of retail, but like this MMO feeling I'm having when I'm playing Classic, you can never get this in retail. But I could also not play only Classic because I also need good gameplay as a person. Classic doesn't really provide too much engaging gameplay, I guess.
I mean, hardcore makes it good.
Yeah. I mean,
Partially.
there's still of, you know, one mistake and you're gone, right? But
Yeah.
the rotation and everything, when you press one ability, you know, as a mage, you just spam crossbow, for example, when you're raiding, it's not too interesting, I guess.
If you
Speaking,
like a little bit more complex rotations and a lot more min-max, I think a little bit faster paced gaming, then you know the retail gameplay is definitely interesting for you.
yeah,
for sure.
I heard that before. Like some people in my YouTube comments saying that I might like that as someone that likes speedy games. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing a lot about that. I understand it a little bit better. I think I'm actually going to follow it next time you guys are doing this. When is the next public event? I mean, you guys, Gingi, you are doing this since you don't want to do it anymore.
It will probably be like late February or March, I think. That's when the next event is probably out, I'd imagine. Somewhere around there. Like looking at the roadmap
Cool.
that Blizzard came out with.
What time schedule is it usually at? Like what Twitch time? What Amsterdam? What Denmark time?
Yeah, so
16 hours a day, so you have time to watch.
we we only sleep, eat, and play WoW, like for the entirety of the race. Like there's nothing else than that.
You
like,
have a fiance, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how does she feel about this? If it's private, you don't have to say.
I mean, it's only for like I'm traveling away and doing this for 2 weeks, right? And then that's it. I mean, she doesn't mind. At least she's always like super supportive. But
That's nice.
I mean, of course, like being away from each other for 2 weeks is not the nicest thing.
Yeah.
She's actually been with me for a few events as well, which has been nice.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's not really any problems. But I mean, she can handle herself, and she gets a little break from me as well.
Yeah, for
Win-win.
sure. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, good. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, because back in Warcraft 3, my girlfriend and I went to many events together. And then as StarCraft 2 rolled around, because I professionally competed on site for 11 years. And during StarCraft 2, there were considerably more trips where we decided wifey... Was she wifey yet? Yeah, wifey can stay at home. And I'm just going to go alone. I'm going to do the thing. And... Well, it was like every month, so it was more than what you're talking about, like 2 weeks once. And sometimes we felt like, what are we doing? Like, we want to spend our life together. there would be like some crazy events that I'd be at. One time I got an offer to go to Brazil, Sao Paulo. They said you're going to play a show match there at a mobile telephony networking event. I'm going to play show match. White Rat's going to be there as well. It was for ESL, Turtle Entertainment. Maybe you know them. Do you know them?
No,
I don't.
ESL merged with...
ESL or no?
ESL, you know. Okay, Turtle was how ESL used to be called. So, you know
okay.
that.
Oh.
And ESL by now merged with DreamHack, right? But back then, ESL was not merged yet. Anyway, ESL invited me to play a StarCraft show match. I got paid a little bit of money for it, and White Ra was there as well, who is a legend of StarCraft 2 as well from Ukraine. And then we got there. I ended up being there for 7 days. I didn't know anyone except White Ra. The event was kind of like... It was weird. There was very little attendance. It didn't feel like it was a successful event. There were almost no fans, so there was no like meeting the fans and all that because there was a high entry fee. And so Brazilian people couldn't afford it, many. People not from Brazil wouldn't travel there for it. I played 2 best of ones over 7 days, and then I spent basically 6.9 days doing nothing. Now you could say, well, that's kind of a skill issue. You could have gone around do tourism, but I didn't feel like doing anything, so I just stayed in a hotel. And during this week, I was like, man, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I want to be at home with the wifey. You know, I'm not even getting to play StarCraft. I played 2 best of ones. Use me, you know, put me on stage, let me perform like a monkey. I'll dance, I'll bash my cymbals together, but no, nothing. So this was like towards the end, and I thought it could be nice to stay at home more, you know, stream from home, work from home, travel a bit less. Been on like hundreds of trips.
Yeah, I mean that's also why like I think the race is nice. Like you get to play competitively, and at the same time, you know, you can stream it as well, which is like
that's true.
2 things at once, right? Like obviously you're giving away the competition, right? Like you're giving them some kind of insight into what you're doing.
True.
So, but all the other competitive teams are also now streaming it, and that also is what allows a lot of the players now to play WoW for a living, right? Because
Yes.
it opened up a lot of careers because of the viewership, right? And sponsors and whatnot that comes into it.
Sure, and you're
so-
full time, right?
Yeah, I'm full time.
Yeah. Since how long?
Since when was Legion actually? Wow. Since 2016.
Okay, wow.
Have you been streaming 8 years? I've
8
also been
years
streaming 8
of WoW racing content. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I got mainly known, so like, you know how you were following Ampy doing a speed leveling racing classic, right?
Yep.
I did that in retail, and I got first in Legion, and I got first in the following expansion, BFA, afterwards. Outside of that, that is where both me and Robin in the call got like really popular by being like the best team in the world in dungeons, in what's called the MDI, which is the Mythic Dungeon International Tournament. There's like PvP, and then there is MDI that we're competing in, and then later something called Great Push, which is where you're like you're pretty much pushing the dungeon high a level as you can. So imagine you go into a dungeon and there's an increase in difficulty. The mobs do more damage, the mobs have more HP, and so does the bosses. On top of another element of surprise, which is an affix, where it could be when a mob dies, you get a debuff called bursting. And then and that's up for 4 seconds. If you kill another mob, you get 2 stacks of bursting. So you need to think about how you're killing the mobs. Otherwise, you're just gonna die from... You pretty much kill yourself as you're killing the mobs. So you need to plan your damage around and whatnot. Like this specifically, we were the best at, right? That is where we have won 10 tournaments.
Cool.
I didn't participate in the last one. This is the first tournament I didn't play in a long time. Which is
How did
weird.
you just start yapping about bursting, bro? We're talking about MDI and now bursting.
Yeah,
This
I'm just
was really-
talking about- I was
just-
explaining that there is increased damage, and then there is an affix as well. So I was using bursting as an example, so he would understand.
Oh, I'm
But
just
there's a lot of
out
other
here
ones.
killing turtles, bro. Now say some
No.
bursting. Yeah.
But like that's kind of where I started off with my stream, and that's kind of like I guess how my stream grew.
You streamed it first, and then people saw that you were rank 1, or you got rank 1 first, and then people asked you to stream?
No, I started actually streaming before like dungeons before it was popular, because in Mr. Pandera there's something called challenge modes, and I guess an example of that is being a speedrunner in very, very old games, right? That was kind of where challenge mode speedrunning came in as well. It was very similar to that. That it was like there was an audience for it, but it wasn't like crazy popular or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like a niche thing to do. But I remember we uploaded one of our runs to YouTube, and then it got featured on like a website called MMO Champion. And I remember that video got like 250,000 views or something.
Sick.
And we were just like a bunch of like nerds, and we were so happy, we were so proud that like we had a video getting that many views, right? And that's kind of like how we got into like speedrunning dungeons.
Which year was
And
this?
then, when the hell was Pandaria? Let's see, Mist of Pandaria.
It's like 2015 maybe. I don't know. I
Uh,
actually don't know when it was.
2012, actually.
How old were you?
I'm from '94. Quick maths.
18.
18. Yeah.
We are so fucking old. I just realized.
No, you're
how long
not.
ago this
Shut up.
was. Oh my god. But they say that men age like fine wine, surely, or something.
I
That's
guess.
right.
Sadly, my reflexes don't.
I didn't mean to shut up literally.
I know you did it. I know you did.